Hey, what's up? So we have a ton of new Black Panther DLC gameplay and details thanks to the big War Table event that obviously just about wrapped up, I believe, at the time of posting this video. Of course, huge shout out to Square Enix because they provided this footage over the weekend and we were able to check it out, also go over the first impressions and even more so, the most important details from all of the gameplay reveals. There's actually quite a bit happening in this gameplay. KhrazeGaming is calling this by far their largest and most ambitious expansion yet, and I am inclined to believe it. There's actually quite a lot happening in there and also a long list of changes, so let's check them out in this video. Coming in fresh with a first look at some brand new suits for Black Panther, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm a huge fan of this royal outfit right here. As a matter of fact, KhrazeGaming was able to confirm that Black Panther launches with over 40 outfits in total once the DLC drops, which I believe makes it the biggest collection of outfits of all of the characters currently in the game. And yeah, a lot of them are actually super unique. They look super awesome. I know that I did say that I would be rocking the default suit for a while because it's already amazing. Well, I might switch around with some of these because they definitely seem awesome. Just like in the case of the other characters, expect some of these to be earnable in game, especially through that challenge card system, but some of them are obviously going to be exclusive to the marketplace, so they will likely cost some additional money on top. Nonetheless, we also have a first look at how the traversal works for Black Panther. Yeah, the company did already mention there's going to be a lot more verticality to the game, but we kind of already know how Black Panther handles traversal. He is going to be able to, well, wall run, kind of like Captain America. He's going to be able to use walls to like propel himself and jump forward, but it already kind of looks like how you would expect it to look, and he also has a double jump. It also comes in a lot more useful in some of these puzzles that we got a first glimpse at, especially this one right here. It seems that they have added quite a number of these, and we also saw some of its mechanics, with Black Panther obviously using his throwable knives to take down and solve some of these puzzles, so expect quite a few of these throughout the DLC. But enough of that, let's also take a look at some of the new enemies in the brand new DLC. Starting things off, of course, with the Claw Company, the mercenary faction of this game. They basically work for Ulysses Claw, which is kind of like the main villain of the DLC, the main antagonist that we will eventually have to fight with, as he is literally invading Wakanda to steal its reserves of vibranium. Now, alongside with these, the game also introduces some unique new enemies and battle mechanics in Avengers. So we have a first look at the bruiser type enemy. These are massive mercenaries wielding an axe that seems to be powered by corrupted vibranium, so they will use charged attacks that you will have to dodge. Another enemy type is the strategist. These are support units that both buff their allies in combat and also debuff the players, and they seem to be using these drones in combat, likely to attack the players but also to deploy defensive auras for their own support units. Finally, we also have the spider boss that we have already seen in some of the previous gameplay reveals. They kind of come in different sizes, including the small ones called the scout crawlers and the larger ones called the hunter crawlers. So that's pretty much it when it comes to enemies. Everything else, there's gonna be a mix of that, as well as maybe some aim in there too, because why not? This is Avengers at the end of the day. But there's another boss that's gonna be added in the new DLC, and he is Crossbones. We can see him around the end of the video and also around the beginning. He is kind of gonna be the taskmaster of the new DLC. There's gonna be obviously a villain sector attached to him, but he is kind of like Claw's main lieutenant, and he seems to be wielding a big minigun weapon that might be powered by, again, corrupted vibranium. He also seems to have a shield defense capability that can make him immune to damage, so I'm kind of curious how that works in combat. It kind of again reminds me a bit of Taskmaster, as he also has a shield that can block some incoming damage, though that's the physical shield that he uses. With that out of the way, let's talk about TChalla himself, Black Panther, the Big King, and some of the abilities that have been confirmed throughout the live stream. Starting things off with his signature attack, or one of his signature attacks, called Out of My Sight. You essentially charge it up with intrinsic energy to perform this kinetic slash, which kind of looks like that like spiraling uppercut attack that again reminds me of beat 'em up games, and you can use this to to also branch out into different attacks like the spinning strike combo, and it's basically going to be a very combo intensive kind of fight style comparable to Captain America. Another attack type is the pounce. You can grab onto enemies both from the ground as well as from the air and unleash a flurry of claw strikes against them. It definitely seems that Black Panther is super good at pinning up single targets and singling out enemies from the group. We're gonna see how easy it is to interrupt Black Panther, but to me it doesn't look like it's too easy. It definitely seems to have a ton of defensive capabilities and anti-interrupt. And this brings us to his intrinsic meter. You can actually block and parry to store kinetic energy, and once that is done, you can expand it to use on abilities, including something called Percussive Blast. Now with the Percussive Blast, you can unleash all of your stored energy in an AoE kinetic burst that knocks enemies and boosts melee damage with that purple glow right there. So it makes your arms literally glow, and I mean, it looks spectacular. I kinda like how the animations are way more flashier than I initially anticipated. There's quite a lot of purple explosion going on with Black Panther right there. Now Black Panther seems to have the best dodge and parry in the game. His dodges and parry attacks seem to be knocking targets back and even staggering nearby foes as well if they happen to be in the vicinity. Enemies, by the way, recently parried by Black Panther are way easier to interrupt with attacks than normally, so that's another interesting mechanic that you can use with this character. Now moving over to its range capabilities, yeah, Black Panther does have a few with the usage of the throwing daggers, but there's actually a bit more going on with this ability right here, because if you use your throwing daggers against enemies, they actually embed into their weak points, it debuffs them and it makes them way more vulnerable to melee damage. So you will likely start combat with a few dagger throws to debuff enemies and deal way higher damage with your other incoming attacks. Now we did talk about some of the heroics that Black Panther has, and we also have a few more gameplay details regarding them, as well as a few upgrades and a first look at them, starting of course with the support heroic called Komoyo beads. These are essentially these purple flying beads slash drones that you can see kind of going all over the place. These can be spec'd to either deal damage against enemies, either by shooting them or dealing damage over time, or by giving you certain benefits like a better health regeneration, providing you with shields or with armor. They can also be used to destroy incoming projectiles. That is a big one. That means you get less interrupts from random projectiles that you might have not noticed because they might have come from off screen. So quite some really nice upgrades there. Another one for the assault heroic called King's Mercy. These are basically those spears that you see Black Panther throwing. By default you only throw one that pins the target, but there's a few upgrades in there that can make it explode, and there's another one that can make it possible for you to cast multiple spears against the same target or multiple targets. So that can be quite beneficial if you want to stay during that heroic so you don't get downed by other enemies. On a final note, we also have a first look at some of the modifiers for Black Panther's ultimate, Best Chosen. Essentially this summons a spectral panther of the goddess Best that will charge through foes, and it will also boost Black Panther's defenses. But there's also a couple of modifiers in there, or upgrades, that you can apply to it. One of them will add 2 spectral Wakandan warriors to the ultimate on top of the Panther, which will immediately start combat and will target nearby foes. So that can be super useful in like one-on-one situations or whenever you need some help with that. You can also get like further customization to it to also revive fallen heroes, among other upgrades that have been confirmed for the ultimate heroic. All in all, so far the Black Panther DLC looks super promising. We of course got some other shots in there that you've likely seen, including of course an even better look at some of the UI elements, the UI 2.0 that has been upgraded especially for the Black Panther DLC. Now of course there's gonna be a lot of guides coming in on the channel, so make sure you stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys in the next one.